Got new music on here.
You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. Mark covers all things Penn State football and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as anything related to the sports and fitness world. Tune in weekly to listen to a couple of dedicated fans talk about these topics without filters. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
All right, everybody. Welcome back in to another episode of Steeler Central, joined by Jared Miller once again. Jared, how you doing?
Doing great, bud. How you doing?
Good, good. I meant for you to bring it in, but yeah, do you want to talk about what you're going to be doing for the Pirates?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, bud. So we went back and forth on this a little bit. And, you know, guys, as much as I would love to have, like, my own show, be dedicated to it, we have decided that I'm going to actually start on his Facebook page to start out. So I'm just going to be, like, putting down my thoughts, maybe putting, like, a video out here and there on the Pirates, like, just kind of ranting it out, getting the feel out there, see how everyone looks for it. If it hits, it feels good, then I would very much like to see if I could handle doing that. But yeah, right now it's just going to be about putting the word out for them and putting all my content on that page. So you guys, if you're into baseball, if you like the Pirates as much as I do, then we just got to catch the Facebook page and I'll be putting my content down.
Yep. So that'll be on the Mark Lesko Podcast Facebook page. And that's it. Yeah, so it'll just be on sorry, I'm typing right now.
Very good.
So yeah, it'll just be on the Facebook page. We kind of came to the conclusion that Jared's always on Facebook. And Jared, as much as you have a good following, you have a lot of friends on there and stuff.
Yeah.
For what you're posting, especially related to like sports, it's kind of a waste if you're not putting it on a podcast page like mine, because if someone wants to listen to your stuff, I don't think they're going to go like, I'm going to go friend Jared just so I can see this. Rather, they can just go to a page and see it there.
Right.
So that's what you're going to do.
Yep.
You know, and you're going to talk mainly Pirates, but you'll post about the Steelers and
absolutely.
Penn State too. But I mean, just to kind of show you guys, I mean, Jared posts stuff like this on Facebook. It's like paragraphs of stuff. And then he had one about the Steelers the other day, Aaron Rodgers. Like, yeah. It's just like, yeah. So I told him, like, dude, put this on the page rather than put it on your page, because that's where, because people don't even have to friend you on a page. They just have to follow you, you know?
Yeah.
They don't even have to follow you. They just go there and it's there. So that's what we'll be doing. And again, I'm answering comments on Rumble only, trying to grow that page. Eventually, our diehards will come back on. It's the off season. Don't get as much engagement during the off season. I mean, we still post every week, especially for Penn State and the Steelers. But yeah, so that's where Jared will be doing that. So follow the Mark Lesko Podcast Facebook page. I'm going to have to update the thing on the bottom right here to Facebook as well, since you know, that's what you're doing with that.
Yeah.
And that's simple enough. But yeah, so that's what Jared wants to do. That's what he's going to do. It's his show and it's his opinions. So Jared, yeah, thanks again for coming on, man.
Absolutely, bud.
So we're going to talk the salary cap increasing. which will give us like $60 million extra, I think. Off-season moves, which there's a lot going on right now. Like Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. Rich Eisen believes Russell Wilson will start for Pittsburgh next season. I'm not the biggest fan of his, even though he's got a gorgeous voice, like freaking what's his name? The actor from Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman. Because I was thinking, I almost said Marcus Freeman. I almost said Marcus Freeman, and then Maurice Freeman. Maurice Freeman. I think was Maurice Freeman for Penn State. Maurice Freeman. Maurice Evans. Yeah. So, yeah, man. Let's just get into the off-season stuff right now.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. The freaking torture goes on. All right. So Russell Wilson's going to be gone. That's not set in stone, but Russell Wilson will be gone. Justin Fields most likely gone, going to the Jets. I don't know, man. What's going on here? We getting Aaron Rodgers? Like, what's going on?
Well, I mean, they keep talking about how the Rodgers and Tomlin relationship, like they said many years ago, they shared a look on the, sidelines, and that would be such a great bromance, ordeal. And it's, you saw what I posted on Facebook. I mean, I basically just said if they do this, if the Steelers do this, I basically am having the entire Rooney family on camera telling us, the fans, that you hate us. And like, they just don't care. Like, I'm sorry. I just feel like there's got to be some better option than a 42-year-old guy who may get back to what he used to be. I mean, you hear that out loud. It's just like, how can you say that a 42-year-old quarterback has the ability to get back? I mean, he hasn't been Aaron Rodgers for 3-4 years minimum. I mean, ever since Green Bay. I mean, it's just like they saw the stuff starting to slow down with him, and I don't get the fascination with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he had once pinpoint accuracy when he threw, but again, I remember they talked about his numbers last year with the Jets. It's like he had 28 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, and it's like you're talking about the entire season, and that 28 touchdown, they probably were against garbage time and teams that weren't really going for a whole lot. I just don't really see the fascination of trying to build with a guy who has maybe 1 year, 2 years left in his entire career. And Justin Fields, I understand there are two things wrong with that guy, where they are worried he is going to be a turnover machine if he throws in the middle of the field. I totally understand their concerns with that. I would be hesitant myself, but you did see the whole system with him, the 6-game buildup. And once Russell Wilson was healthy, then we never saw any of it again. They didn't try to do anything with him. They didn't bring him in for a series. The 2 plays they may have put him in every 4 games? Sure, that he's there, he's existing, but he's not really contributing. They're not trying to make him a part of the system. So it's now you're questioning, in the offseason, are you trying to get him in here? You trying to get him to stay? Because I personally would like to see what Justin Fields would look like with a full season. Because they were talking about Russell Wilson and the issues that he had, and it's always been his issue. The fact that the dude is 5'10", 5'11", and he can no longer really monitor the field, because once you're 36, 37 years of age, your mechanics start to get a little, stirred, it's stiff. That just happens. You get older and you're just not able to be as mobile as you once were. So it's not a question of he never was able to look over the middle of the field. He never was able to because he was so short. But it's now the only way he got out of that, because he had mobility. Now he doesn't really have that anymore. Like, it's apparent that Arthur Smith was basically like, I don't have game plans for this type of setup. So, Russell, whatever you choose to do, this is how it's going to go down. And if we lose, it's because you lost us the game. My game planning has nothing to do with to set up for you. Because, again, if you look at Arthur Smith as an offensive coordinator for the Titans and a head coach for the Falcons, he very much loved to play the middle of the field. He loved to attack the middle of the field. His game plan was always about that. So how do you prepare for a guy who comes in and takes over for a dude who was 6'2", 6'3", very tall dude in Justin Fields? And now it's like you have an arm with Russell Wilson, but you can't use the middle of the field like that. Like, and again, the one fluke game that we had with the Bengals when we had like 400 some yards and 4 touchdowns, that was one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Like, even you and I could have probably thrown against that team. Like, that's how bad the defense was for them. So, for the most part, I just hope whatever the offseason moves are, that we are getting a quarterback that's going to be tall and knows how to throw in the middle of the field. That is the 2 criteria we need. If Arthur Smith's game plan is going to work, and it's going to be a much more effective season.
Yeah. So the article I just pulled up from ESPN analysts, it was Mina Kimes and Brian Clark, which are the king and queen of woke, so really can't listen to anything they say. But Mina Kimes is horrible. Yeah. But they did say that Rodgers going to Pittsburgh makes the most sense. Not really. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't think it makes the most sense. And they said if you want to bring Fields back on an affordable deal, I don't know why this thing is moving around. But
I see that. I'm
like the long-term answer when you have a bunch of guys who are ready to win. That doesn't make sense either. But it's ESPN, so. But if you bring in Aaron Rodgers, they can win now, and I think they would win. And you have to go back on last season. We had Russell Wilson, whose middle name should be Sack, because if there was a player within 10 yards of him, he would just lay down, take a sack. So that was horrible. That was tough to watch. Justin Fields did good. I don't think the guy's going to win us a Super Bowl, but I think if you bring in an Aaron Rodgers, you can win now. We had a pretty good season last year. We fell off at the end of the season. I mean, we were Super Bowl contenders at one point, especially after they beat the Jets. We thought, and you said too, that we could probably go to a Super Bowl, which was not wrong, and I agree with you. But at the end of the day, if you bring him in, you can win now, especially going off of last year. And we did have success. We lost on the road in the opener to the Ravens. And then we blew it against the Bengals at the end of the year. You know, we lost games that we shouldn't have. We first of all, we lost 2 games at the beginning of the year that we shouldn't have lost, of course. They always do that. And then they really fell off at the end. But overall, winning season, made the playoffs. Really, the reason that we ended how we did is the wheels fell off the wagon. So coming off of this season with an Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, I think they can have success. They can win. He could use like one more weapon. I think Davante Adams might follow him. If he comes, that's another thing about him maybe coming to Pittsburgh is I think a Davante Adams would follow him, which would be a plus with that. So, but I would also want him to keep Justin Fields under Aaron Rodgers to learn from him, because why not? But again, like Justin Fields, he's not the best passer. Yeah, so
yeah. I like you said, well, why not? I'm sorry, but that's kind of like, the kid in the back. I'm just saying. The reason why is because Aaron Rodgers is not a team player. He is not a leader on the team. Like that has been apparent a long time. Like Green Bay and now New York, like, dude, he is going to organizations that basically it's like, just do your job and then everything will work out. Like, there's no rah-rah with Rodgers. No. It's only rah-rah for Rodgers. Not with Rodgers, for him. Like, that was my end of my point on Facebook. I'm like, if you bring Aaron Rodgers into this organization, you are just basically saying all you want is for him and him alone to get a Super Bowl. You're not doing it for the fans. You're not doing it for your organization. You're just doing it because you want Aaron Rodgers to have one more Super Bowl ring. And it would be, if for us to do it for him, like, I'm not cool with that. I just want there to be this kind of like, I know that, listen, I know Big Ben is no better. I'm kind of being a hypocrite right now because, again, Ben was kind of a diva himself. Like, he knew that he was the reason why you had success because he was just that good. He had so many big yards and big plays when he had a big arm. I mean, yeah, it's so important for your quarterback to have all those things. I mean, I just don't know about that with Aaron. Like, yeah, he knows how to be accurate. He can get the ball to some players, but it's just, there's just something about a guy when you say you're 42 years old. I don't see that. Like, I just don't see how you're going to be able to sustain an entire season. Like, now, don't get me wrong. I've said this about ball players, like for baseball too, dude, where it's like, once you get to a certain age, it's like, great. It's at the beginning of the season, you're going to bring fans in and we're going to watch you guys do something. But, when you get to like the hot summer days of August, like halfway through the season or midway, get into the really tough months to like be competitive. It's like, you're going to be lucky if you're going to be able to even pull half your weight. Like, that's just what happens, dude. It takes a toll on some people. And I'm just saying, at 42 years old, I mean, yeah, you can prove you're a miracle man and you do all your Tai Chi in the woods, like, inside the dome. Like, I mean, I hear all these stories about how that man like detoxes or whatever he does to cleanse his aura. Like, I just don't know how the world the man even like goes outside anymore. If he's like even in shoes, like he just sounds like, some woodsman or some, new age hippie. Like, that's just, it just sounds like they're all into that stuff. And if that works for him, that's great. But I'm just saying, I never understood all that. And I just want there to be some form of future with whatever's coming next too. Like, that's another thing. I want there to be years with whoever's next. Like, I don't want to have just this, let's see what happens. And if it doesn't work, let's move on to the next guy. Like, obviously that is not working with the whole Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and insert here and insert there. I mean, it's just, it's not a good look. I mean, it's apparent that Tomlin and company are not focused on sustainability. Like, again, I keep telling this with my pirate people, where it's like, do you realize that in that organization, it has been 10 years, that is a decade, where they have offered a multi-year deal to a free agent? Like, that is startling. I don't know of any other organization, even in any sport, that has not done that for that long. So it's like, Are we going to start doing that with the Steelers? Like, are we just going to bring in 1 year guys? Let's see what happens. And if it works, great. If not, we can trade them away. Like, I don't know why the Steelers organization looked over the other side of the pond and saw the Pirates as fiasco and said, that's a good idea. Let's model after that. You think it'd be the other way around, where it's like, do you not want success? Because it just seems like now you're going in that direction.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I mean, someone asked me tonight, like, are they getting Rodgers? I said, I don't know what they're doing. And they said that he would get like a 3-year contract. I said they'd probably give him a 1-year contract first, maybe 2, because he's in the league for maybe 1 to 3 more years. That's it. But yeah, I think right now, if Trevor Lawrence is off the table, then Aaron Rodgers would be a good fit. A good next option. And I just think if he came in with Pickens, the diva that he is, and like Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson and some of the guys that they have, then I think it would be a good fit. But again, they also need a running back. I think Najee will be gone. It's funny that no one's even reached out about him because he looks like he's running in slow motion when he runs. He has no vision.
Right.
He's just your basic north and south back. Like, dude, like Jerome Bettis, like that guy had speed, he had size. You bounced off of him like they called him the bus.
Right.
I mean, you bounced off of him like crazy, man. He had vision, speed, he had everything. As big as he was,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, as a kid, we went to the training camp in Latrobe, and he, as big as his belly was, man, he had his legs like straight out. He was sitting down, his legs were straight out to his right and left, and he had his nose on the ground. You know, he was flexible.
Yeah.
But, you know, he had a big belly. Like, I don't know how he did that, man. But, you know, I don't know who to compare Najee to. Like, he's just not good. And Jaylen Warren's not a 4-down back. So, again, they also need a running back. So, it's like,
Yeah.
if they could somehow get a running back in free agency and then get Aaron Rodgers on a cheap deal, and then they could even do a swap, like, because I know I've heard news of Justin Fields going to the Jets, which have fun with that. But, yeah, and another thing too, man, is Justin Fields, he didn't do bad with us. And when I say why not have him on the team too, I mean, he would at least be able to, like, watch Aaron Rodgers and kind of see how he plays, how he thinks. He would learn from him. But, yeah, if I were Aaron Rodgers, he said he wants to go to a team that wants him and a team that can win, and that's the Steelers, I think, because between him and Tomlin, it'd be a good match. I thought it'd be good to have Tomlin as a mentor for Wilson and then Wilson as a mentor for a young Justin Fields, and it was, but Justin Fields didn't really get his chance to continue what he was doing. I mean, we were doing good under him. So, yeah, I think that's the best option is Aaron Rodgers right now.
Well, you know, the thing about it is, dude, and you have to also think about as a team, like, game where from the player's perspective is what I'm trying to say, is from the player's perspective, I feel like they liked Russell Wilson's attitude, but I think as the season went on, they kind of, it's like when you remember as a kid, the song that never ends. I mean, when you hear it for a certain amount of times, like, it's just going to get to you. And I think that was the thing. I think they've heard that song one too many times with him, and he'll still come in with the same old, you know, chipper, let's go. Oops, sorry, guys. Lost myself. But I'm saying this gets chipper, upbeat, like kind of playful, like puppy, like energy. And everyone's kind of like, let's just bring it down a little bit. Like, I just feel like that was another thing. And I'm not saying that Aaron would not be an improvement because, again, he does have all the accolades. He has all the MVPs. But again, that's been several years now. I just feel like in the end, what's going to make the players not really respond to it, where it's like, guys, we went through it with Antonio. We went through it with these guys. We went through like a series of diva and anger and just the whole mess of it. Like, it's just not fun. I just feel like these players just want to have some stability. Like, Cam Hayward may be one of the best Steelers of his generation just because he is that kind of dude where it's like, I'm coming into work. I just want to work. We're done with work. Let's move on. And the next day repeat. Like, he had such a great work ethic attitude. Like, he just has that kind of grit and grind. And I feel like a lot of guys have that attitude. Like, every team has their identity. And I feel like the players just have that kind of sensibility with each other. And that's the thing. Tomlin, I'm sure in his own right, has the same thing. But as a head coach, like, there's got to be some motivation. And I just always feel like these players just don't have anything that they look for. And I just think that Tomlin allows it to go on. I just feel like, again, we're always talking about what needs to improve. And I just feel like adding a guy like Rodgers would just I just feel like it would add so much more headaches. I just feel like another year of watching something go down, like it's a distraction. It's like you're not trying to solve the problem. You're just trying to put this annoying Band-Aid over an annoying problem, and it just gets more annoying, and it just eventually rips. And I'm looking for the actual suture here. Like, I just want to, like, get this thing cleaned up, figured out, make it better, and improve. Like, we've been having this issue since Ben got old. Like, was even the 2020 year. It's been 4 years of just being a good enough team and not going anywhere with it. And we need to have some sort of assurance that there's going to be a better option, whatever comes. Like,
yeah. I mean, again, like running back, like what do we do there? You don't know.
I mean, I've heard things like, if you look at, I don't know, a team like the Chargers, they've got guys like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. It's like, would anybody want to part? Like, could we somehow make a trade there? Like, are they locked into big deals? I don't know. But, there's also maybe the Aaron Jones thing, like the Minnesota. Like, I know that the guy has a couple years on him. Like, he's kind of in that area of like 30-some years old. And I just feel like I think the best way to go with it is you probably need to look for that in the draft. Like, I don't know what the running back class looks like. I mean, I know there's also Ashton Gentry and Scattaboo, and there's another. I'm blanking totally on. Yes, like there's a couple guys, and I feel like whoever they keep, and I think Jalen will be put to a deal. I just don't know what or when, but that would be a backup, like, for sure. I mean, I'm not sure if the draft would be the starter, but I feel like what we're going to do is just try to run as much as we can. Like, if we don't have the solidarity and or confidence in a guy like Justin Fields to throw the ball in the middle of the field, I mean, then yeah, that's the thing. You're going to have to get your offensive line healthy again so that you can start to make better plays for the run game. So that's another thing we have to also discuss too. It's like the offensive line, how long does it take to get healthy? Like, or how long does it take to get these guys in their positions and make sure they stay there too? There's a lot of tangibles that are going to be coming this offseason when training camp starts. I just hope that they give us the clear-cut answer, and no matter what happens, those guys are locked in their positions.
Yeah, with the J.K. Dobbins, I don't like that he wears number 1 for one thing. I just think that's an odd number for a running back, but he was also a Raven. But yeah, I was thinking like hadn't heard about J.K. Dobbins, but Aaron Jones, and then Aaron Rodgers, and then maybe bring Devontae over. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers comes over with Devontae, you still go receiver in the first round or a Cooper Kupp. If you could get both, that'd be cool. But, we have more salary cap, which we'll talk about. But, like Cooper Kupp, you'd give him some decent money. Devontae, you'd probably give him some decent money. But, yeah, you could get a running back in the draft. And, again, we don't really need a name. We just need a serviceable running back that we can rely on, unlike Najee, and then give Jalen some rest. Again, Jalen, I think he was undrafted, so that's another success in the Steelers, draft / offseason to get a guy like that. But yeah, it could be like Aaron Rodgers and Cooper Kupp, for example. You give Aaron Rodgers like a 1 to 2 year deal, give Cooper Kupp some money. And even if you could get Devontae too, that would totally turn it around to get both of those guys plus Aaron Rodgers. And then you would be able to, get like maybe running back in the draft. But, we could be looking at like a Aaron Rodgers and Devontae situation, or an Aaron Rodgers and Cooper Kupp. And then I think they should still, no matter what, especially if they get Rodgers, go receiver in the first round, get a Buka from Ohio State, or there's another kid from Texas I think they were looking at, or in mock drafts, I should say. But I've also heard Daniel Jones, which if they do that, I'm not watching any games this year. I won't watch the NFL at all. That would be a horrendous move. That'd be worse than getting Trubisky, man. Which I had high hopes for Trubisky, but yeah, that.
Now, I did hear a story. Yeah, I did hear a story, actually. I don't know if it was online or if it was some, show I watched, but I think I heard someone throw Matt Stafford out at one point.
Yeah,
like that. And I'm like,
that too.
I mean, that's interesting.
I just don't think he's going to leave.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, he's 33, 34, or no, he's 35. I think he's almost the same age as Russ. I think he's a year younger. Like, so he's close, but I don't know. I feel like that would be pretty big in terms of upgrade because, again, the guy knows how to throw. So, I mean, that's the thing we're missing. We're missing a quarterback that just knows how to throw the ball anywhere at any time. And again, what happens is with Russell getting the ball available in the middle of the field, like I was talking about, that did also limit our tight ends. Like Darnell Washington is 6'8". How do you not get the football to that kind of height? Like, all the man has to do is do this. And you're going to be like, the man is putting his arms up. I can freaking hit that because it's the size of a building. Like, I just don't understand how you don't at least put an effort to get these guys involved. I mean, and despite all of that, I think I did see that Pat Freiermuth ended the season with the second most receiving yards the entire season. Like, that's crazy to think that you never heard the guy's name at all, but yet he had the second highest number in terms of receiving. I mean, that really does kind of open your eyes to like the situation that they have with either game planning or who is in behind the, who's getting the ball, like who's throwing it. Like, I just don't know. There's definitely some issues that they have to address. And clearly the quarterback play is one of them, because if this is going to be successful, Arthur Smith coming in with his game plan and how he does things, like I feel like he was shackled like a little bit with the game plan, because again, when you have a guy who has limitations like that, I mean, it's not against him. Russell Wilson's just not as tall. Like, you can't make yourself taller. That's just the unfortunate thing. So I feel like there was a lot of headbutting with that, with Tomlin. It's just like, once you get a guy in there that's able to actually see the field, like, that is going to make things just so much better. Like, it'll make it better.
With the salary cap, I mean, what's that do for who we can get?
I mean, listen, we're talking, you said 60, 70 maybe million. I really don't know the number, but it's something around that. I mean, for crying out loud, you can't go out and pay a guy like a 3-year, $90, $100 million. I don't know who would be available to have that kind of money, but it should be an upgrade. Like quarterback, like you said, maybe running back. Like, maybe we can go and get, who's the Tampa Bay guy?
Chris Godwin.
No, yeah, that was another name I thought for wide receiver. I mean, his franchise tag is up now. Of course, everyone's talking about T. Higgins with the Bengals, and I don't know about that. The guy basically said he didn't want to play in Pittsburgh. I mean, he's a Pittsburgh guy, but he doesn't want to play in Pittsburgh. So I don't think that's an option. So, I mean, yeah, in a perfect world with this salary cap increase, you go out and get a guy like, I mean, again, you say Aaron Rodgers, I can't say that, but
60 million.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like that should get you a quality quarterback, a quality wide receiver at least. Like, that seems like those would be the targets you would go for in free agency. Now, if you can get the running back in the draft, like, that would be pretty stellar. Like, from Omar Khan's perspective, like, the GM has to pull off the best offseason of his career. Because again, you think of any position, like outside of kicker, like I said, and tight end, those two positions are set. We have those things. Everything else needs to be touched. Everything else needs to be addressed, pretty much. I mean, I don't even know about the whole Minkah Fitzpatrick thing. Like, do we need a new safety? Are you not going to use that safety position correctly? Like, and again, the whole line is getting old. Like, everybody's averaging 30, 35 years of age. Like, the inside linebacker room needs to be looked at. It's cornerback. You don't know what you're going to get with Dante Jackson. Like, I just know that there is so many questions. With $60 million, you should be able to, put some sort of coating over that wall. Like, my dad's a contractor. It's just like, you put those drywall up, you just, sand it all down and just make sure everything looks nice. And please just fix the dang wall. I'm tired of looking at all the holes that you have.
Yeah. I mean, with 60 million, just potential moves. Because I think in this draft, I kind of sense them moving up to get a player, unless Ibuka falls, or they could get. I don't know, man. So you could get Aaron Rodgers and maybe Devontae. but I don't know how they would get him. They might have to give up something for him. But Cooper Kupp, he's a free agent, so you're just giving up money for him. So you could go Aaron Rodgers and Devontae, Aaron Rodgers and Kupp, or Aaron Rodgers and Devontae and Kupp, and then get hopefully receiver in the first round. Or, if you get – because Ibuka, he's another guy that you could have on your team for a long time. But if you went Rodgers and then another receiver in free agency, which I think they need to do, and then get a receiver in the draft, I think that's what they should do. But if you get a receiver in free agency, thinking short term, they might go running back, where they could get Genty, or they could get a receiver in the first round and then get Ollie Gordon, who I'm not sure how high he's projected, probably third or fourth or fifth. But then again, they may not touch him because he did have a DUI and stuff like that. Yeah, it's interesting where all they could go, but the cap increase helps everyone, and it gives us 60 mil. So again, it could be like Rodgers and Kupp or Rodgers and Devontae. And if you do Rodgers with a receiver of some sort from the free agency or other than the draft, then you could go receiver, running back in the draft. You said they could also go defense in the draft. So I mean, fans are already pissed off, rightfully so. We are. And if you don't make some serious moves, like what would really be nice is if they got Rodgers, Devontae, and Kupp, and then still have like a first and second round pick, which I think they would, because I don't think Devontae's worth a first or second round pick or anything like that. But if you could get both Cooper and Devontae in the first in the offseason, plus Aaron Rodgers, and then still go receiver or running back in the first round, I think that would work. I almost see them trading up if Ibuka doesn't fall, because in some drafts he's not even like in the first round, I don't think.
Oh wow.
So yeah, let me pull this up again. So just to pull up Daniel Jeremiah. By the way, that one dude from NFL Network, Field Yates is his name.
Okay.
Every time he comes on the screen, I'm like, is no one going to talk about the fact this guy's name is Field? Like, Where did this name come from? Like, how did you come up with that name for a person? Field. But it works. He's a, good reporter. But Field Yates, like, what? That's like naming your kid like Flower or like Dog or something. Like, what? And then Taysom Hill too, dude. Like the guy's name is Taysom.
Taysom.
Like, how do you even come up with that name? Like, where did that come from? That I don't know of any other human named Taysom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking at again, like we looked at this on the Steelers, the Penn State episode earlier. Tyler Warren, it'd be great to get him, but they really don't need him.
No.
Even though he would be a generational guy as well.
Right, but did you see that they did assign or another tight end? I told you that story, right? The Steelers, they just signed another tight end.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Why? What? I mean, that's the first big move you made with this. The guy from the Chargers. Oh, it's something Junior. I know his last name is something Junior.
Yeah.
He's like 6'8". But I get it. You get a tall, another tight end kind of thing. Are you just getting another blocker again? Or you just, that's the thing. Is their tight end just basically the sixth blocker on your offensive line? Like, it's just mind-blowing.
They could go defensive back. There is quite a few that are projected in the first round. They could go D-line. You're looking at like a Matthew Golden from Texas. That's a possibility.
Okay.
Or Ibuka. You could go Luther Burden.
Okay.
Another freak. Luther Burden was at one point projected top 5 pick. That's how good he is.
What position is he?
Burden. What's that?
What position is he?
Receiver.
Okay.
There's some options what they could do. I don't think they need another edge guy. They got Patrick Queen, Highsmith, and Watt. I think they're okay at linebacker, even though like they could get like an Abdul, hypothetically speaking, big hypothetical, and put him opposite TJ Watt. That'd be awesome. But that's not going to happen. But
no.
Yeah, it's man, it's just I don't know, but they have options, man. Like Ashton Genty, Ollie Gordon, Agbuka, Matthew Golden, Luther Burden. They have options there at both. And when you said Scattaboo, I was like, dude, there's no way, man. I don't think he would last. I don't think.
I know the dude he's had a lot of concussions. I know.
Tough as nails, but I just don't think he would last, man. He's been already beat up. Just in that one game I saw him in, man. That's the only game I saw him in was against Texas, and like, my God, like that was insane what he did. He had like a career game, but again, it starts with getting Rodgers, which I have a feeling they might do that. And again, last year, this year people were like, oh, like there's no way they get Lawrence. Like that's what they said about Russell Wilson and Fields, and they got them both.
Yeah.
So I don't care what people say, that could still happen. But what's most likely is they get Aaron Rodgers and then hopefully get a receiver of some sort, and then go again, receiver, running back in the first round. Or go receiver or running back in the first round and then get one or the other later on. But I think you really do have to go with like a Buka. He could be a generational talent. He could be a franchise talent.
Oh, yeah.
But again, Ashton Genty could too, man. Like, I'm a big fan of his.
Oh, yeah.
His comparison is Alvin Kamara, which is a joke because Alvin Kamara is not even human, man. He's on
another level
when it comes to football. Yeah. But he's a good option. So, it's just there's a lot of stuff there's a lot of possibilities. But man, if you really want to like put butts in seats and make fans just be like, instead of yelling at the screen, they're crying with joy. Right now, the fans are like the red kettle on the stove. They're just ready to freaking start hissing. Like we're pissed.
As far as I'm concerned, the kettle's already overflowing.
yeah, it's pretty much overflowing. But if you could get like literally like an Aaron Rodgers and Devontae and Kupp without losing picks, and then get another receiver or a running back in the first round, I mean, dude, you're looking at a very, very like Super Bowl contending possibility there. Very serviceable team.
Well, dude, I mean, listen, I know this is not the MO of the Steelers, but it seems like the most successful years that you saw with Ben was with the Killer Bee thing, where it's like you had Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, and whoever, like whatever guy you want to throw out there that was a part of the wide receiving core. Like it just seemed like every year for 2-3 years with that group, you were seeing 4,000 yards, 4,500 yards from Big Ben, and everyone was getting 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 yards as a receiver. It's like, I'm sorry, but that is kind of what we need. If you're going to compete in this NFL these days, if you're going to try to take on the AFC with the Ravens and the Bills, like they're always going to be relevant. And of course the Chiefs too. I mean, that's what you need. You need to have high potent offenses that can put up at least 4 touchdowns, 28 points, 32, like 35 even. Like you just got to be kind of greedy like that. And I mean, if there's one thing that you're always going to hate about a Tomlin run offense, it is that run, pass, or run, pass. And it's like, dude, can you please just play with a lead? Like, what's wrong with actually scoring on the first drive? What's wrong with actually being up 3 touchdowns by the half? Like, I don't understand the whole attitude of like keeping a game close. Like, why is game clock management so important? Like, I just don't get that mentality, especially when everyone else is just pretty much knowing what you're going to do. Like, that's the thing. Like, I would be very surprised if every team that plays the Steelers is not just over there going, they're going to run, pass pretty much, and we're just going to prepare. Like, do you even have to do that? Like, I feel like they just are going to go into that knowing what you're going to give them. So, yeah, I totally understand the frustration because, again, it's been year in and year out of the same kind of results where all they do is just give the ball back and the game is close, 0-3, 10-3. Like, it's just always close in the half, and then it just falls apart if we lose. It's again, I feel like we need to find a way to just get more points on the board. I don't know where it's going to come from, and I get your point with Justin Fields. That's not going to come from that kind of player, but something's got to come through with a younger guy. Like, I need to see somebody who actually has years coming. Like, I just want to have that be settled. Whoever the quarterback is, just please give me more than 2 years of certainty. Like, Ben is the last guy. And that was 4 or 5 years, 6 or 7 years ago, because when he got old, he started getting less mobile and he couldn't do what he used to. So, yeah, it's been at least 7, 8 years since we've seen a healthy quarterback do some spectacular thing for more than 3 straight games. Like, it's one thing for you to do that against a team like the Giants and the Jets who have bad defenses, and then when you play the, gauntlet of your schedule and you look like everyone said you were going to, and there was no surprises. Like, it just collapses all the time. Again, as a fan, please just give me a season where I'm going to watch at least half of a season and watch them score more than 30 points. Like, I know I'm asking for a lot, but that's what they need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, man, like, it's, you can always compare Penn State and the Steelers in some form or fashion.
It's insane.
Like, offense was an issue this year for Penn State. As good as they pretty much were, it's still an issue. Lack of production on the offense killed us. Steelers scoring 30-plus points. I mean, we had some good production on offense, but it really fell off. It wasn't sustainable. It wasn't consistent. It wasn't good enough. Now, like, okay, so when James Franklin came to Penn State, he had Bill O'Brien's roster, right, which was okay. I mean, it wasn't national championship type caliber, but let's say Penn State off of Bill O'Brien won 2 national titles, and then Bill O'Brien left. And Franklin walks in, and he's got this great roster, great recruits, and then he wins like 2 national titles or 1, and then doesn't have a ton of postseason success for like 10 years. At some point, you're going to be like, all right, this guy can't win with his own players. Like, we need to probably ask some questions and move on. Whereas in reality, Franklin had other players that weren't of his liking, didn't win. And then once he finally started getting some of his own players, like, he fully has a roster at this point of guys that are his, which are very good. So if after like 10 years he wasn't winning, you're like, like, this isn't working out. Mike Tomlin walks in, wins a Super Bowl, goes to 2 with Bill Cowher's roster. And it really started to fall off, man, when Polamalu kind of started like getting hurt, getting older. He was deteriorating. His hair was still nice, but everything else fell apart.
Still is.
Yeah, oh yeah. Head and Shoulders guy. I use Head and Shoulders, Old Spice. Like, it really started with him. And then they had the 3 Bs and he couldn't win with that. It's like comparing like what Franklin, the example I gave on Franklin, and then comparing it to Tomlin. At some point, it's like, dude, like what's going on here? He won with Bill Cowher's roster, and he hasn't had success, even though he's had more talent than what Bill Cowher had. He had immense talent. Now, again, AB 6th-round pick, Le'Veon like 3rd or 4th round pick. Like they developed the guys, but it ultimately doesn't mean anything unless you win in the postseason. So it's like bigger picture here. Like if you don't make some moves this offseason, and I laid out what those are, that would be mind-blowing as fans. Then again, like at some point you really have to ask yourself, like, all right, when are you going to start asking questions? Like college football coaches, they get tons of heat. Franklin is like, he's got like armor on, man, because he takes so many bullets and shots and just whatever. He's got like a tough mindset to take all the heat that he does. A lot of college coaches do that. It's the same thing in the NFL. Like at some point you have to ask yourself, like, when is this not going to be okay? And if you have lack of production on offense, like you mentioned, or you don't make some big offseason moves, like we said, then at some point, man, like eventually it's going to be, we need to part ways because this is not working. And that's going to happen. So, because at some point, man, Steelers fans, as loyal as they are, they're going to raise hell. Way more hell than what we've been raising already. They've seen nothing. The ownership has seen nothing from the fan base yet. It could get way worse.
Right. Well, you talk about, not to interrupt you, but like when you talk about James Franklin and Mike Tomlin, like James Franklin is in the Big Ten. Big Ten is arguably one of the most important conferences in the NCAA, and of course, that's always the SEC fans who are out there know that's like, no, we're the best. It's between the SEC and the Big Ten. And let's just be honest about that. If we're going to talk and be respectful, it's like, okay, at least we can say this is a conversation all the time. In the AFC North, I think for the past 10 years, like how many times have we won the AFC North title? Like twice in the last 10 years? With what?
Once, right?
Yeah, I'm going to say, I know it was at least that. Yeah, I'm going to say, I think it was, I thought twice, but yeah, maybe it is just the one. So it's like one time in 10 years with what?
Well,
Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, like we won the division and then we're the 2 seed, lost to Jacksonville at home. And then we lost to Cleveland at home in 2020. That was horrendous. We started 11-0.
Pathetic.
Bud Dupree going down didn't help. But it's like at least Franklin wins games he should win, which is not easy.
Yeah.
Beating Delaware and Temple and Bowling Green, that's not easy, man. Like you have to win those games. They almost lost to Bowling Green. That's not easy. Tomlin does not do that. He doesn't win games that he's supposed to win. They've always lost games to the Colts, to the Browns. 2 losses right there. Right, and who else at the beginning of the year? Because they started out like 2-0 or 3-0.
Yeah,
I think it was the Colts and the Browns, right? Or
no, it was the Colts, but I'm blanking completely on the other team. Right. Oh, the Cowboys! The Cowboys!
Well,
the pitiful Cowboys. They had no defense whatsoever. That was like the most painful loss I've ever seen. Oh, that horrible loss.
3-0, and then lost to Indy.
And the Cowboys, yeah.
And then the Cowboys, but, that was understandable right there because, they were a decent team at the time. But still, we should have won. But
right.
And then they're like 3, 6, 8-2, man. And then they lose at freaking Cleveland.
Yeah.
And then they're 10-3, and then loss. Like, that's
the whole season.
Total
the rest
BS,
of the season
man. Now, again, competed with these guys who they did something later on. got annihilated by these guys, even though we beat them earlier. Got annihilated by these guys, understandable. And then they lost just, okay, so 11-5 here. Right, okay. So 11-5, 12-4 could have been at least 12-4, which would have bumped them up a little bit, I think, in the playoffs. They might have played like not the Ravens. They would have played someone else. So it's like, you don't lose this bullshit. You don't lose this. Right there, man, that's 13-4. You know? Or I'm sorry. Right? Because we were 10-6. No, 10-7. So, yeah, I'm doing the math wrong, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, again, like, it happens every year. And then you have the 3 Bs. But, yeah, at some point, man, it's going to come, like, if they don't make these offseason moves, get an Aaron Rodgers and a receiver, and then make a splash first-round pick, set us up good, because the O-line's good. The defense, don't touch it unless you want to add, like, a corner or something. Don't touch the defense. You're fine. But on offense, again, it's like Pennsylvania football has sucked for the people who like the good teams, which are Penn State and the Steelers.
I was going to say, you just going to the Super Bowl winning team.
For us fans that don't shoot guns in the air in the postseason game and after a game. So for the more level-headed blue-collar guys like Penn State and the Steelers, you know, it's like offense has sucked. And again, you can't go back in time. Big Ben was selfish, and he did not set us up, man. He should have set us up. And Tomlin at some point should have put his foot down and said, dude, we're bringing in a Trevor Lawrence this year, and you're going to mentor him, whether you like it or not. If you actually think that we're trying to replace you, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time
first ballot Hall of Famer
quarterback, a first ballot Hall of Famer, probably top 5 all time. If you think that we're trying to step on your toes, we're not. We're trying to use your – I mean, you want to say Aaron Rodgers is a bad leader. I mean, look at him. He wasn't a good mentor either. But we're going to use your greatness to be a mentor to a Trevor Lawrence or a CJ Stroud or whoever, man. I mean,
yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot of names that you could have had.
So, yeah, with all the Tomlinisms and all that crap, it's like, dude, it just doesn't equate to wins, man. It doesn't equate to postseason wins. I mean, at what point is it like he's a great molder of men, he's a great mentor in many ways, but it doesn't lead to postseason wins. So,
but I think now listen, don't get me wrong. I understand it's a part of any game that you watch, especially with the NFL and the Steelers. But can we try this idea? Can we go through an entire season like the Steelers? And I'm sorry to be greedy like this, but the entire season, not one game will you do this. The entire season, do not put us into heart attack mode by the end of the game. Do not put us through like the most excruciating, I had to like rip any ounce of like hair on my head moment. Like, please, can we just have a season, an entire season, where you played a game and you actually looked good doing it and made me feel like, wow, that team is actually something to watch, something to look forward to. But no, it's like, no, we got to come back from 2 touchdowns down and we got to, find a way to muster this back and forth game, and maybe Boz can kick a 62-yard field goal to, win it, and maybe send it to overtime and do it again, so we just win by it. There's just so many tangibles where you're watching the game.
Come back, man. If they're down, they can't even come back. So that's another thing too.
But I'm just saying, like, can we just go through a game or an entire season where we're not feeling like, this is the most gut-wrenching and the most excruciating thing to get through. Like, I just feel like every time I watch the Steelers, it's not enjoyable. Like, it's like some sort of punishment or a pain that you have to constantly put yourself through. Like, you didn't mean to slip outside in your house and you're in a cast, but no, you got to sit there and deal with the pain. And I'm like, God, that's just what it feels like with the Steelers. I'm constantly having just to sit through a very difficult thing to go through. I would rather, name anything that would be excruciating. I'd rather have someone smash me in the head with a sledgehammer than, watch them constantly put themselves through this, and us as well. Like, I just don't get it.
I love
like
offense, man. I love offense. So
yeah, it's tough. It's so tough.
And that's what's so frustrating. I mean, even going back to Jared, I just texted you.
Yes.
Delete that text I just sent you out of your feed, and I'm going to send you a different one. But just delete that out of there. I'll explain that. Well, I'll explain why.
Okay.
So I'm going to pull this up real quick. All right. Yeah, like going back to like 2017, right? Like, for example, at Penn State, played Buffalo at home, and we didn't dominate like I thought we should have. And I talked to my one friend. I'm like, dude, like, they need to be dominating better on offense. He said, well, they did what they were supposed to do. And I said, no, they didn't, man. They're playing freaking Buffalo. They need to put up 60, 70 points on Buffalo, and they didn't. And it was a game going into like the third quarter almost, I think.
Yeah.
Like, offense has been lacking for Penn State and the Steelers for some years now. But so I'm going to pull this up real quick. By the way, Big Ben has a podcast called Channel 7. What the fuck? So check that out. It's pretty awesome. Oh, my bad. One thing that annoys me though is he eats a lot on there, and when you're on a podcast, like, it's kind of annoying to hear people eat. But he's Big Ben, so he can do whatever he wants. But you have to evolve. You can't assume everybody wants to play for the Steelers. People used to want to play for Pittsburgh, or a Super Bowl chance yearly. Well, you didn't help that, Ben, by not setting us up for the future. But, and I think this is in reference to, what Julian Edelman said about they do the same thing every single time, which is true, and he would know because they beat us a lot. But all right, so that's interesting. Like, what do you think about? Continue saying what you were going to say, but I want to address that.
No, but I mean, that was just the whole point of it, where it's like we are known for defense, we're known for a run game, and yes, I know the run game has been kind of suspect, inconsistent for the last several years. Ever since Le'Veon Bell left, I just feel like we have constantly been looking for another guy like him. Now, D'Angelo, was it Angelo Williams or D'Angelo Williams that took over for Le'Veon, and then it was Najee after him?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had some success with that guy, but, we never took full advantage of it. And again, it just seems like there's always something year in and year out that puts these guys in that, like, Murphy's Law, like everything that goes wrong does, where it's like injuries happen, the schedule gets tougher. Like, there's always something you can fall back on with them. And it's like you never actually point the finger where it needs to be, where it's like, guys, your game plan is basically the same every time. It is basically, I don't know, like, it's like elementary counting, like, where it's like, are you trying to, like, make it sound like this is difficult? Like, there's many places in this country where if you go to a restaurant or a diner, like, sometimes you'll open the menu and all you have is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It literally will just say those things on the menu. It's like, well, that doesn't seem like that's pretty self-explanatory. You just get this and they'll be done. That's what the Steelers, like, game plan looks like. It's just so dang simple to figure out what's going to come. Like, you got to be more creative. You got to have the ability to, like, adjust. Like, when was the last time Mike Tomlin adjusted in the second half? Like, have you ever seen anything change in a game? It just seems like what has happened in the first play of the first quarter is what's going to be the last play in the fourth. Like, at some point, there has to be something that changes. Just make it better or just improve it in some way. Like, are you saying that your players aren't good enough to do that? If not, that still comes down on you, because that's the job as a coach. You're supposed to be able to prepare them to put them in the best situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's him saying that is very true, for sure. but it's like coming from him, I don't know, man. It's kind of like, dude, like you were a part of that. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but yeah, if you haven't seen his podcast, check it out. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Like I said, he eats a lot. He's like, oh, I got truffle wings tonight from Chef Evan. Then he's sitting there freaking chomping on them while they're talking. I don't know who his co-host is, but he's all right. I mean, I think they could do a little better there. But all right, so we talked about Rough and Rowdy a little bit, Jared, where I heard that well, actually, no, I don't think I heard this. But the one podcast I listened to, Coach JB, I thought they were going to be on it, him and his co-host, Big Smitty. But there was James Harrison and Ocho Cinco were going at it on Radio Row before the Super Bowl. Ocho Cinco was basically like, I could kick your ass. And I'm just like, dude, oh my, like he was talking so much crap to him, man.
I mean,
and again, I'd like to play the video, but there's some.
Right, but I'd say if you're talking about literally, like you say, I could kick your ass. Like, does James Harrison stand up and you just go kick and you just did it? Like that, I could believe. You could actually just do that. Like, there's no way you actually meant I could physically beat you up in a fight. There's no way that is even possible. Like, I once heard somebody try to defend themselves once with a guy. Like, he told him to get out of our house. Like, he's like, leave. And this kid is like 100 pounds. Like, and the dude is like 6'7", like 300. And someone points out, that's really great, man, but his kneecap is as big as your chest. Like that. That's kind of like what I would feel like if that's just like.
It's absolutely insane that was even that was even what he was even saying that. But anyway, I thought. I can't find Rough and Rowdy for the one that's coming up because Pat Mahomes and John Rocker are on the card. You remember John Rocker, right?
Maybe give me.
Just Google John Rocker. You'll remember.
Okay.
He was saying stuff. Yeah. But Pat Mahomes' dad, who is known for having a drinking problem, they were fighting in the Super Bowl. They were fighting on like Bourbon Street before the Super Bowl. They were like arguing. And so I think they're fighting in the Barstool. I also heard Coach JB and Big Smitty are. I heard that James Harrison and Ocho Cinco might. And again, I'll have to show you the video. I would love to play it, but it's just got some vulgar language in it that I don't want to play on here.
When you just, you talked about the celebrity boxing, with Mike Tyson and what's his face? Jake Paul, is that his name?
Paul, Logan Paul or something.
Logan Paul, that's it, thank you. Yeah, you just think of Logan Paul and Mike Tyson. Wouldn't that be fun? Get James Harrison and Ocho Cinco in a boxing ring, see how long he lasts.
I mean, good Lord, man. James Harrison, he's talking crap to him. He's like, I would whoop you, basically. Yeah. And James Harrison is just sitting there, and it's like, bro, what are you talking about, man? Like, what in the world are you talking about? Like, that guy could eat you.
Yes.
He is a freak. He's huge. Right. He's strong. He could lift a car, probably.
Dude, that would turn into a Looney Tunes skit, pretty much. Just watching them just roll around and spin up and just bam, 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 bam.
It was crazy, man. It was crazy that he was saying the stuff that he was.
Right, but can you picture the Avengers? Like, do you remember the Avengers with Loki and Hulk? Like, he starts giving his little speech. You see how that's pretty much what he would do.
I don't watch the Avengers. I don't know much about that, but I'm sure you're right. But yeah, that was something I can't find anything on Rough and Rowdy. But last topic, Jared, is the Steelers sign another inside linebackers coach. So, like, I don't know what it is nowadays, man. Like, I feel like they have these quality analysts, and they're like 23-year-old women, and it's like, what? Like, it's like, what exactly do they do? Because I don't think this girl played football. So what exactly do they do? Or they have so they have quarterbacks coach, wide receivers coach, running backs coach, O-line coach, tight ends coach, assistant offensive line coach. The offensive line coach needs an assistant now. Senior offensive assistant. So they have an offensive assistant and a senior one, and then they have an offensive assistant and offensive assistant. Then they have inside linebackers coach, assistant secondary coach, defense quality control coach. Like,
so reliable, yeah.
And then they have one special teams guy. Like, that's it.
That was the dude. That was the dude back then.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
dude, they did this video, and this is a deeper conversation, but they did this video before the Oregon-Ohio State game. They interviewed this girl. She said, yeah, I'm a offensive analyst or something like that. And then he just gets smoked by Ohio State. And everyone was like, I can see why they got beat so bad. But it just derives on we need quality coaches that have experience, preferably played the sport. And we don't need so many coaches, like inside linebackers coach. Like, what? Did they always have this? An inside linebackers coach?
I think I've heard these names or these titles for, I'm going to say, probably like 8 or 10 years now. I mean, it's been a while since they've had this type of setup. Yeah, they've had this many coaches. In fact,
on most staffs, you're coaching one guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, in fact, I think if I heard something correctly, they talk about how actually they don't have enough coaches. Like, I heard that other teams have way more on their coaching staff. Like, they almost have as many coaches as they do players or something. And the Steelers are kind of like limiting themselves to certain things. It's like, well, listen, in the end, we talk about what Mike Tomlin brings, where it's like he doesn't have a coaching tree to speak of. Everyone who left him, it's like they're not even close to being with a team that has any type of credentials that would be, worth speaking about. Like, I just know that in the end, Tomlin tries so much to put his hands on the defense because he's a defensive coach. And it's like, listen, if Terrell Austin's going to fail, that's just on Terrell Austin. I don't understand why you feel the need to, like, put your hands on it too. Like, I just feel like the head coach is just there to monitor all the other coaches to do their jobs. And I haven't seen that really the whole season from both sides. Like, the defense completely derailed because they couldn't do it anymore because they kept being the reason why they were the best thing about this team outside of special teams. And then, of course, the offense is always going to struggle. Like, that's just a guarantee right now with the Steelers. They just don't have the consistency. They're game plan. It's like, okay, fine. I love that you have fast wide receivers. I think that's a fantastic thing to have. Do you use it correctly? No, because every team knows how to smoke you, has good cornerbacks, and knows how to run with your receivers. Like, they never get open. And what? Your secret weapon is Calvin Austin, who's 5'8", and you're hoping that the ball lands exactly where that ball needs to go. Like, that's what you're telling me. You're telling me you don't have a game plan, and you're just hoping this works out. And I can't imagine why you would need to have 7 or 8 different coaches for that moment. Like you said, it's definitely a chaotic match.
They have like an analyst, a quality control, a guy that wipes your shoes, a guy that tightens your helmet, a guy that hands you water. Like Penn State.
Yeah, the guy that puts the little thermos on top of the water.
Yeah, like they have, offensive coordinator, tight ends. All right, offensive grad assistant, defensive grad assistant. Torrance Brown's been there a while. Defensive graduate assistant, Jordan Lucas. Danny O'Brien, quarterbacks. They don't, but like they have like quality analysts and the assistant to the assistant to the assistant coach, and then they have an assistant for that guy, and then they have like a quality analyst for that assistant. It's like, holy crap, dude. Like, if I'm a player, I'm like, all right, who do I go to? But good Lord, man. There's just
which assistant do I go for the assistants?
Yeah. Like, why'd we lose to Notre Dame? Well, the assistant quality analyst didn't give him the right type of coffee on Tuesday. But it's like, good Lord. And Coach JB on the Coach JB show, he talks about this a lot, guy with a lot of football expertise, coach and stuff like that. Played in the NFL. He speaks about how, like, a lot of these guys too that are coaching, they're getting shafted by a lot of people that don't have the criteria, they don't have the resume, which is also sad. So yeah, man, it's just like overall, but I guess they've already had an inside linebackers coach, to get back on the subject.
Yeah.
But they hired the guy from Dallas, but yeah, man. We'll see. Hopefully that makes a difference. But it's like on the Steelers, you're coaching two guys, but on other stats, like you're coaching like one guy. Like, all right, you're my coach since I'm the middle linebacker. You're my coach, and you're just my coach. That's it. Don't talk to the outside linebackers. You don't coach them. You coach me. That's it.
And you wonder why everyone looks so damn confused when they get on the field for game day.
Yeah. And then you got like Patrick Queen and who else? That inside linebacker. So
Landon Roberts, Peyton Wilson,
Holcomb, is he still?
I don't know if he is now. I thought that they had him still, but I think they might be getting rid of him for salary cap things. I mean, adding more time. Now again, here's the thing. Now this is what I do know is going to go down, dude. Not to derail the whole salary cap thing, but I do know some of that money is probably going to go to TJ Watt's extension. Not to. You thought about, like, what could they possibly do with it? Well, they could be trying to keep one of their other guys for a couple more years, where it's like, I don't know. What is the game plan? Like, do you really want to be winners? Because, like you said, you want TJ Watt to have a Super Bowl ring because he deserves it. He's arguably one of the best defensive players in the game. But is it with us? Like, I want it to be with us. I got the guy's jersey for a darn reason. I thought he was going to be a Steeler for life. Like, there's just something about certain players that don't really need coaching. And then there are times where you're just sitting there going, why is there not a coach with this guy? Where is his own coach? Like, can we please get this guy ready? And it's so chaotic. I just don't understand how you can have all these talented, no-name, like these well-known guys, like they have great names to their system, and they just don't use them correctly at all. Like, it's all on coaching with that.
Well, he's coaching 6 guys. Patrick Queen and Landon Roberts mainly. Peyton Wilson, Cole Holcomb still on there. Mark Robinson. Is that the Mark Robinson? No. All right, never mind. Tyler Metcavich. But 6 guys here.
Yeah.
But that guy's probably making $700,000-800K just to coach 2 guys.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, that's like when I tried out at Penn State, I wanted to play a certain position, but I was just like, I'll be a long snapper. I don't care. I just want to be on the team. And that's the thing, man. Like the long snapper for the Steelers, Doug, what's his name?
Oh.
Big Ben mentioned him the other day.
Oh, I do not remember the name.
Well, it's Christian Kuntz now, but Greg Warren. I'm sorry, Greg Warren, not Doug.
Okay.
It was Greg Warren. Like, dude, this guy got paid thousands and thousands of dollars for years to just snap the ball, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, he played 2-time Super Bowl champion. 2000, he was on the team for like 12 years, dude. Look at that. 2-time Super Bowl champion. That's all he did was snap the ball.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a good gig.
Try to be a long snapper in the NFL, and literally all you're doing is snapping the ball, and you're getting paid like $300,000 or $400,000 a year just to snap a football.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's harder than that, but I think one of my teachers in high school told me, he's like, I have a friend, he's a long snapper. That's all he does. He's just a long snapper, and he just makes $400,000 a year.
Yeah, so you think you're doing what, $50,000 every snap?
I mean, it's like, just think about that money.
Yeah.
And most of the time they can't touch you because it's illegal. So
yeah, that's crazy though. If you think that if it is $50,000 a snap, you do realize that is a year's salary for the average human being.
But like this coach, he's probably making $700,000 or $800,000 to coach two guys. Like it's more than two guys, but it's like,
yeah,
like dude, back in like 2005, for example, like who did we have? Like I don't think they had an inside linebackers coach.
Dude, again, I just started watching the Steelers religiously at that point, so I didn't know if they even had 5 or 6 coaches on the sideline for that whole defense. Like, no.
Yeah, so I think
remember
they had,
Dick LeBeau.
yeah, but I just don't think they always had that. But I don't know, man. Like they got everything out the wazoo for everything nowadays in football. But Jared, is there anything else you want to talk about?
But I think we've covered it all. All
right. Well, keep an eye out for Facebook. That's where Jared will be covering mainly the Pirates, but he might throw up a video here and there. But so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, guys, if you could share the support, I would very much like it. I'm more of the baseball guy than I am the football. I do love Steelers so much. I mean, but yeah, my real love is for the Pirates, and believe me, somebody has to because there's not very many left.
Yep.
I looked it up. I looked it up. The stadium capacity at PNC Park is like 38,600 something or other, and the average stadium can hold 45,000. It's crazy how it's like, that's that intimate. Like that ballpark, have you ever been to PNC Park, bud?
Yeah, it's the nicest one in the whole MLB.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I'm so lucky that I get to be in the state where that's the nicest ballpark. It's such a pretty scene, and you think,
everything.
Why wouldn't you want to fill it? Like that's just such a crazy notion to know that it's like when you saw that epic 2013 blackout game, dude, like, oh, that was such a spectacle. I will never forget it. It was the coolest thing to see.
Kutch was a rookie or close to a rookie.
No, he was into the season.
No, Kutch was drafted in 2005. Kutch was, why did I say rookie? He was like one of the best in the league that year.
Yeah, he won the MVP that year. He won the MVP the year that won the.
He won the MVP.
Yeah, he won the National League MVP for 2013. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, he was a big dude back then. Garrett Cole didn't come along until 2014. That was he was a part of the team, I believe, when they drafted him. But I think 2014 was the year he showed up. Like that.
Did they never forget Jason Bay then?
No, Jason Bay was long gone before that. I think that was like
our only all-star for like years.
Dude, if I could have a whole segment on the former players, like we could go through the whole stats of all the guys that left the Pirates, and then as soon as they went to another team, they turned into a freaking all-star. Like it's a huge thing.
Well, you have a show to do that now, so yeah. It is very nice there. The last game I went to, I was a long time ago, but we lost, I think, 3-2, and it was 5 home runs. It was like all home runs, one hit home runs.
32, all solos.
All home runs. Yep. And
Dude.
the fans, they were yelling at the team. They were like, "You guys suck." They were pissed, man. Like, not a happy fan there. They were just so bad.
I can't begin to tell you. I've been to at least a dozen in my lifetime, going to the games live. I once was a part of a 6-0 start where we were leading in the first inning 6-0. We lost 7-6. Watching that lead dwindle, and then the 9th inning they gave up that last run to go 7-6. Dude, I could not. Oh, it's so unbelievable how many times I've been a part of those types of things where it's like, how can you lose this game? And you do.
Well,
Like again,
I
I
think it
don't know
was
why they have to go challenge accepted on those things, but that's what you have.
the Altoona Curve. The one game we were at, we were up like, if this is even possible, we were up like 15-0 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the other team was scoring. It was like, I don't know, the Reading Phillies or something like that. But they started scoring, and every time they scored, they were scoring like one run at a time. They would play Austin Powers. He would say, whoop-de-doo, you know?
Yeah.
And they lost. I think they lost. Like they were up like 15-0.
It's crazy. Like there's
lost.
nothing more diminishing. There's nothing more diminishing when a loss like that happens. Just each inning or every other inning just adds more and more. And it's just like, guys, do something. And no, couldn't do a thing. There's
And then I'd be at Spike's games, and they'd be playing that Ric Flair thing, that woo. And the one game I was there, like I had to leave because I had a headache because they kept doing that woo thing. I was like, I have to go. I have a headache because they kept doing it. Like, and there was people doing it. I'm like, how are you guys like not like dizzy by now from doing that so much?
But you know, bud, again, I'll end it with this. Like, I was a part of a game I went to when we were a playoff team. 2015, it was the day before they went to the All-Star break. St. Louis Cardinals, like, again, they were down 5-3 in the extra innings, and I watched half of the park, file out, and I made a buddy in the crowd. He talked about all those years with, he was around for years, dude. He was with the 60s and 70s Pirates when they were World Series. Like, he's seen everything. And then when we won that game in extra innings, you look at the dude and he had the look of shock and awe like you should always. But it's like, how crazy is that to know that can happen in that game? I mean, anyone can watch a comeback in football and you know it can happen and momentum can change at any moment. But there's just something about baseball, dude, that's just so cool to like see everything's going the other way and then one hit and that home run, and it's just like everything changes, like the landscape and everything, and you're just like, everything's possible. Like, it changes that quick with just one swing of the bat. It's gone. Now you're like in the lead, and all of a sudden everything is great. Your whole momentum can change that quick. Like, it's crazy. It's the one catch. It's the one jump shot. Like, that's the thing I love about sports, dude. But something about baseball, it makes it a little more extra special when that momentum switches. Like,
well, I always, I used to say this, like some friends and I in college, like, we would talk about like, dude, if we were like from like a different planet or something, and we looked at us humans, and we're like, dude, they throw a ball into a basket, and like that's a sport. Like, you throw a ball into a basket, like what the hell is that? Like, it's such a simple thing, and people go to it. And then like baseball, like you hit a ball with a stick, and like that's a sport, or you fill pigskin with air and then you throw it and you hit people. Like, just like the simplicity of some sports,
dude. Listen,
just make it great, man. Baseball is such a simple sport. You just hit the ball, and whoever gets around the bases more wins.
But there is something about. There's a psychological thing about that. I'm not trying to educate, but I'm saying with the batter and the pitcher, like, that is a great psychological boxing match. It's not like no one's hitting each other, but it's just like you're thinking as the pitcher, what pitch am I going to throw to get this guy out? And then the hitter's doing the same thing. How am I going to swing the ball at the bat, to get the run? Like, and there's also that the odds are against you as the hitter because you have 8 guys in front of you, and you have to find a place where they're not at.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
That's another thing too. It's hard to get a run, man, or a hit because you have so many guys out there. Like, how do you even hit the ball and get on the base? You know what I mean? Because there's so many people out there. And then, like, if you're the Yankees, you just buy a bunch of players and you have like an all-star on every position. But
listen, the Tampa Bay, I'll tell you this. In terms of payroll, the Tampa Bay Rays are one of the cheapest teams in baseball. They make the playoffs every other year. There's just something about payroll can make a difference, but with baseball, it doesn't really matter. Because, again, you've watched the Philadelphia Phillies. spend $250 million on their payroll every year, and they may make to the playoffs, but then they completely fall apart by the World Series, or they don't win in the World Series. They've been to the World Series one time in the last 15 years, and they didn't win. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if you spend a lot of money, you're going to get a lot back. It just means that you have the ability. The Pirates are worth $2 billion. The Pirates are worth $2 billion, and they only put $70-80 million to their payroll. And it's fine. You want to be cheap? That's great. But can you give people in there that actually want to win? Instead of thinking that your analytics are so great. Again, it's all about ego. That's what I love so much about sports. It's whoever's in charge thinks that they're the only ones who can do what they do. And when they're right, they love to boast about it. But when they're wrong, it's always someone else's fault. It's never theirs.
All right. So the Pirates are worth $2 billion. Are you serious?
Yeah. That entire.
Right, so Major League Baseball doesn't have a salary cap, but instead uses competitive balance tax. Because Pirates, the reason they suck is because they're a small market team, right?
Right, but they also suck because they only give you 1-year deals. You can't build on a team where it's you're just doing it once a year with half your team. That's not building a whole lot of faith, a whole lot of confidence. That's Moneyball talk. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen that?
Well, oh yeah. So for example, Dodgers have so I guess it's payroll. They have $303 million. The Dodgers. Phillies have the second one, which is insane because they're in the same state, and we have $65 million, bro. Paul Skeens is probably going to get $200 million.
I mean, that might be the big deal.
we can't pay that.
No. Realistically, this dude will be around maybe 3 more years. Maybe.
How much is he going to get paid?
I mean, what did I see? Garrett Cole got a big deal with the Yanks. I think it was $275 million or so.
These are the 4 teams he's going to. One of these 4 right here. That's where he's going.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Maybe.
I mean, just think about that, though. I'm just saying, think about that because the pitcher is every 5 days. He pitches one time every 5 days, and you're going to get that much money just because you do something. But, dude, again, I've watched the dude last year live. Paul Skeens, dude, I'm in awe. I was I can't believe I actually get the chance to see this dude that close. Because it's an anomaly. It's a legend. It's the man should be walking with a bright light around him wherever he goes because he just has that aura about him. That is how special that is, to know that you are actually in the presence of greatness. How many times do you get to say that you've seen that? The fact that I was at Ben Roethlisberger's last game, to know that was the biggest living legend I could have seen in person. So it's crazy how sports work like that, where it's some guys are just built different. And yeah, Paul Skeens is definitely that. If he is not a Dodger, they're idiots. If the only place I would say that he would go that's not Los Angeles or New York, I would say probably the other New York team. The Mets are crazy enough to throw that type of money at him. And hell, maybe the Phillies could even do it too. That would be even more devastating to watch him go to the other side of the state.
Well, Livy Dunn, she's already got houses picked out in LA and New York, I guarantee you. But
Paul Skeens is also a Los Angeles dude. I think he's from California, so that seems like that is a done deal.
So we got Skeens and Jones, 200-mile-per-hour pitchers. Bednar's a good closer. They need more pitching, obviously. Well, he was.
He was.
But again, we got Frazier's decent. Brian Hayes, obviously, he's like a Andrew McCutchen type guy, young.
But he gets hurt all the time.
Brian Reynolds, yep. Kutch, O'Neal Cruz, he's a freak.
Whew. You know, but it's funny you say about Brian Reynolds. I think I heard somewhere somebody actually has met him, outside of baseball. It's a story. I think this is the true story of why does Brian Reynolds like playing here? If he's such a talented dude, why does he want to take his talent elsewhere? I think the dude is originally from Virginia. I think somewhere down south, kind of like that. And he loves to hunt. And I think I heard this guy talk about, like, he knows a guy who has, like, hunting properties on Pennsylvania. He just loves the state of Pennsylvania hunting. Like, I'm like, really? That's the reason why he likes being here? Because it's like he has better access to that on the. I'm like, well, I mean, listen, if that's the pitch, that's fantastic. I'm glad that we have them because we need all the bats we can get.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it. Like, we never developed any players in that system to hit for power. Like, we always are lacking offensive power. And if we get it, we don't keep it. Like, we just trade it away in the trade deadline, and we're left with, the dude who can hit a single every 4 games. Like,
yeah.
That's the thing we're always stuck with, dude. We're always stuck with a rotation that can look good. This is one of the best young rotations, dude, I can think of in years. And yet we never acquire bats to supply or complement it. Like, it's always what you got to work on. And yes, I have seen many teams win and go to playoffs with a good side of this and not fix this. Like, you can get to the playoffs with a good rotation regardless of your offense. But what you're talking about, dude, is you're talking about you have to win 2-1, 1-0 all the time. And that's just not acceptable. Like, that's not doable. That's not realistic. Like, that's what we have. That's the reality of the Pirates and the state of their entire season. If we're winning, it's going to be like that.
So they don't just suck because they're a small market. They suck because they suck. The ownership sucks.
Well, again, it sucks because, again, you're talking about all of the levels of AAA, AA, single A. You don't try anything to give us like the best hope because you're setting yourselves up for just prospects that you can trade that get you money. And the thing that seems like it's always a consistent thing with the Pirates is they always have pitching. Like, they always have good arms. Like, we have the rotation that we have. And right now there's one dude coming back from a Tommy John surgery situation where, yeah, they can use him at some point, but they're going to have to put him on hold because it takes over a year to bounce back from that. Like, you can't really throw again for another 1.5 years. So he's eligible to throw, but they're going to have to limit him. And that's why they just picked up Andrew Haney from the Rangers. He's a lefty, and that's a very important thing to have. And he is like a workhorse. If you look at his like workload in the last several years with the Rangers, he has put in a lot of innings. Like, he's pitched like 150, 160 innings this season. So yeah, he can be a great option. But again, you're relying heavily on one thing and not trying to fix anything else. Like, again, that comes from the small market attitude that they're going to always be. But once in a while, it would be so nice to see them sign someone to at least longer than a 3-year deal. But that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, this is where we'll be covering it. The Mark Lesko Podcast Facebook page. So check that out. Go here for the coverage. For what Jared's going to post. He's going to post, like writing. If you do videos, Jared, try to do it like where you're sitting at right now.
Okay.
But sometimes do it from your car, stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is where he'll be doing it. I haven't put up a lot yet. I just kind of started it. I'll start putting more in there. But, yeah, so go there for that coverage. And, that's where it will be. And, every once in a while, Jared will be on here. And if I have time, we could probably, at some point you'll probably do some videos on here, but I might come on every once in a while because, hey, I there's a lot of, like I said before we got on here, I'd rather watch the grass grow in winter than talk to Pirates, but they are my team, man. So, and I do know some about them, not as much as you, but
listen, again, for as long as I have watched this team, which has been since 2009, I've only said this 3 other times. This is the best opportunity they have to get to the playoffs. This season, right now, with what they've got, their names in that lineup, in that rotation, it's promising. Like, I know that it's abysmal to try to be optimistic. I get it. But this is. If we don't do something with what they've got right now, it's going to be another 10, 12 years before they have a shot. So this is it. This is the year to try to your darndest to rally and get support, because this is as good as it's going to get right now.
Yeah, and Brian Hayes gets hurt. O'Neal Cruz was out like 90 games last year, and he is a specimen, man. Like, he is a freak of an athlete. Like, you can only say that about so many athletes, like Drew Aller, specimen of an athlete. Abdul Carter, Saquon Barkley, they're just like on another level. Peyton Manning, the list goes on. Right. Bryce Harper, like O'Neal Cruz is on another planet, man. He's unreal.
I mean, listen, but this is the thing about it, though, dude. When you look at guys like him, and he was a shortstop, he played shortstop like pretty much his entire career. They put him out in the center field now. The Pirates are putting him in a position where he doesn't play, and he's trying to learn that because they want to use his arm to try to get guys out from center field to home plate. Because, dude, that man's arm, he can throw a ball 98 to 100 miles an hour. Like, that was the scariest thing to watch him as a short. Like, he's a shortstop.
The ball like 100 miles an hour, and he hit his ball off the bat speed is like off the charts too.
It's insane. It's 110 miles an hour. That's a freaking bullet.
Super fast. He's like 6'8", right?
Yeah, he is tallest shortstop, but yeah,
he's just. It's insane how athletic he is.
I went and saw the Yankees. I went and saw the Yankees play the Pirates 2 years ago, and Aaron Judge is like a freaking tower of a dude. When he was on second base and O'Neal Cruz was covering, he had to look around him. Like, I'm saying, that's so awesome to know that there was finally a human being where Aaron Judge could not tower over a guy. He was the same height as him.
Guy, like a specimen of an athlete. Like Tom Brady is not a specimen of an athlete. Like he just,
he was a guy.
That's why I can't call him the GOAT. It depends on what you're talking about, but the GOAT that's such a broad term, I feel, and you can't just give it to Tom Brady because he was not an athlete.
Right.
The guy ran like a 4.9 40. So, but yeah, we'll see, man. But I'm gonna get you set up with it here as soon as we get off here. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. This is a long episode, almost 2 hours. Jared and I could talk for like freaking 3 days, probably, literally. But all right, guys, have a good night, and we will see you next time.
See you guys.